Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Howdy, y'all. This is red.olaughlin. We're on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And today I am absolutely super honored to have a very, very good friend of mine, Gail Stolzenburg, on the show today. He's an author, a speaker. In fact, his bio is about 2 pages, so I had to pick out just the things I think are critical. But he's a success coach. He's a 7-time black belt in karate. He's a certified professional networker. He's certified neuro-linguistics NLP, certified NLP person. And the education director for the Houston BNI series, many actual groups and over 1,300 members, I think. He's been MC of 2 Olympics, trainer for a lot of different organizations and events. He's a pilot, but I think the thing that sets him off for me personally is what I call he's a networker's networker. He is the one that keeps the Houston area going with what's going on in the world here in networking here in Houston. So with that, let me bring Gail out and introduce you to him.
Well, thank you.
Hey, Gail,
I appreciate that.
Good to see you again. It's been a while. It seems like COVID happened and we did a couple little things after that. And then heaven only knows, but we contacted each other last week and we're going to get together, I think, next week and actually have a lunch and catch up. But it's definitely been a while. And so let's get into networking a little bit. And I think the first thing that you always say when you introduce this topic is, when does networking begin?
Well, that's a good question because you might think it happens when the other person first comes in the door, or maybe when you make eye contact, or maybe it's when you shake hands, or maybe it's when you start talking. The answer is no. It starts when you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you put on your networking face. Tony Robbins calls it peak state. Jonathan Sprinkles calls it position. The most important thing is that you need to be starting your preparation at the beginning of the day, not just before you walk into a networking meeting. And that preparation includes knowing who you're going to meet. A lot of times, if I'm coming to a new organization, I'll go and Google them, and I'll find out who the leaders are in the group and who the members are and exactly who I'd like to talk to. And then I'll determine what I'm going to say to them before I ever get there. So that's when networking begins.
I remember there was a movie, I can't think of the name of it right now, but the guy would he would be looking in the mirror just before you go out onto the stage, and he would shout, and his face and everything, "Showtime!" And I think it's the same thing. It's a mental preparation. And when you're in a business where you need to circulate among other people and establish your presence and know who they are, what their needs are, and how you can help fill those needs, you need to start with that mindset very first thing in the morning, because things happen and they kind of enter the brain, they go around, but they may not register. But if you're registering from the time you get up in the morning anything that comes in, whether it's a text, an email, a phone call, whatever, it automatically, the brain is already pre-triggered to go. So I think that's, what you're saying makes the absolute sense in the world, because if we're not pre-configured to receive that information, it just right on by. Would you not agree?
I agree fully with you, Red.
So you're pre-arranging all the molecules in the brain so that you can be a good networker. Okay, now you walk in the door of a networking event. What happens?
Well, you may you may have a little bit of anxiety. Did you know when you're at a meeting and somebody walks in the door and all the eyes turn in that person's direction? It may be a beautiful woman or it may be a handsome man, but most of all, it's confidence. And so before you start talking to someone, you need to, or make a presentation, you need to get rid of that anxiety. And there's a couple of things that I tell people about how to do that. Now, one of them is what I call breathing techniques. And it's just been proven many, many times about the particular thing that I tell people. I suggest to them that they begin by inhaling. And if you've ever watched a baby sleep, you notice how their stomach rises and falls as they breathe. In other words, they are breathing deeply. Many of us have a tendency to breathe just from our upper chest. So you start by breathing deeply. And one of the things you can do is put your hands on your ribs. And as you inhale, feel all those ribs push apart, including the ones in your back. And I do that for a count of 4. And then I hold the breath for a count of 7. And then I focus on exhaling all of that bad air for a count of 8. And it's been proven by many experts. Dr. Andrew Weil is one of them that uses this, and the person becomes more relaxed. There's one other thing I do, which is called anchoring, and I learned that from Tony Robbins. And anchoring is a physical activity that results in a motion. Now, what I do is I hold my thumb and my forefinger together, and I start pushing and pushing harder. And I'm visualizing back when I was involved in competitive judo and I was a champion of the 5-state area. And I'm just walking onto the mat and I'm looking at the opponent across the mat. And I'm totally convinced that I'm going to win this match. You can't see it, but if I took my shirt off and you looked in my back, you would see goosebumps running up and down, because that is how powerful this particular physical activity and emotion is. So those are a couple of things people can do to get ready to have their first conversation with someone.
Now, you talked about exhaling for a count of 8. Do you exhale through your nose or through your mouth?
Oh, yeah, very, very important part that I missed. So you inhale through your nose. Now, people don't realize this, but when you inhale air through your nose, you actually get 10% more oxygen than you do when you're inhaling through your mouth. Now, think about that when you're sleeping. How much oxygen did you miss last night because you were there with your mouth wide open instead of breathing through your nose?
Yeah, I tell people jokingly, I says, when they're feeling kind of a little angst, I said, take a deep breath and hold it for 30 minutes. And of course, we get a lot of laughter, but I believe the world record's around 25 minutes for holding your breath underwater.
Yeah.
It's not an inconceivable thing. But a lot of, surfers and people, 4 or 5 minutes is nothing. SEALs, 4 or 5 minutes is nothing. It's not something that we don't have the capability of doing, but that oxygen, when it gets into us, does amazing things.
Yeah.
You mentioned, the breathing in and out is super critical for that relaxation, but it's also when you see somebody walk in a room and you say 20 people, some people walk in with that confidence that whatever it is, there's something about that person that's different.
Yeah.
And part of it is that self-confidence that you get from being relaxed, and you're not in worry about anything that's going to happen. And when you're doing your anchoring or whatever other way you want to do it, now you had as a certified neuro linguist, I can't remember the P.
NLP.
Yeah, NLP. The P, I can't remember what the P is. Neuro NLP. So there's a lot of things there. And I remember one of the guys telling me a long time ago, says he goes in for an interview, and whatever the other person does, he does. If the person scratches he scratches it. If he puts his arms on, whatever, he mirrors that other person. And that mirroring allows that person to feel more at ease because they're looking at themselves in a mirror. Because if the guy's sitting back in the chair, you sit back in the chair. And it's interesting. NLP has so many aspects to what we're doing, but it's a valuable tool in networking when you're working one-on-one with somebody. So let's talk about working one-on-one. What do you do when you have a one-on-one with somebody you've never met before?
Well, first of all, a networking meeting is just a starting place. And I think it is so important that you don't try to sell somebody, that you don't talk about yourself when you're at the networking meeting. And the only thing you want to do is to have an appointment. Now, I'm thinking about Tony Harris Taylor, who is one of the top networkers in the Houston area. She comes to a meeting with the intent and the goal of having 3 appointments set. So instead of trying to act like the corporate folks tell you to do, to say how great the company is and how great the products are and how great they are, you want to talk about them. So now you've got the appointment set, and you're in a situation where you're in a one-to-one position. And this is the place where you want to, again, stay away from selling. Find out as much as you can about this other person, and find out what kind of referrals you can give this other person. Because business and life is all about building relationships. And you don't build relationships when you're trying to pitch someone. So you find out everything you can. And while you're doing that, by the way, you may find out some things that this person really needs. You're not a salesperson. You are a solutions provider. And so when you find out those things that person needs, some of them you may be able to personally take care of, but others you may want to refer them to other people. And so normally we set a one-to-one where the first 30 minutes, one person does the talking and so on. And the second 30 minutes, the other person does it. But what I can tell you is this: amateurs learn what to say. Professionals learn what to ask. And so you want to spend most of your time asking questions when it's your turn to talk.
We've had some Zoom meetings here during COVID, and the same kinds of, I don't want to use the word trick because it's not a trick, techniques that you use walking into a networking room of people also work when you're sitting in a chair on Zoom, because you're doing the same networking, but if you come across as distracted, whatever, you're not relaxed, you're making that same wrong impression. Is there anything else special about sitting in a chair in front of a camera, networking with people that our audience should know about?
Well, I can tell you this, that I do a lot of talking on the telephone, and a good lot of the time, I actually try to stand up because you actually project better when you're standing. Now, there's nothing wrong with sitting in a chair, but but I found that makes a major difference. I don't know what the percentage is, 60 or 70% of the influence that happens, the connection that happens when you're talking to someone comes from body language. So people make up their mind within the first second or two when they're listening to you. And they make a lot of that judgment based on your body language, whether or not they want to continue the conversation with you.
We talk about know, trust, etc. in that getting to know you and being able to not be a salesman. People don't buy from people they don't like. But there's also another portion of our society that is very highly skilled, and those are the con men, because they have a short circuit that, okay, here's our brain. We know when a salesman's selling us something, but all of a sudden the con man whoosh, wipes all that out. It's like we have no memory of being able to recognize a sale when we see it, and we go crazy. Okay, how much more money can I give you? And part of that analysis, as I understand it, listening to some people here in the Houston talk about it, is that, and you mentioned it, you're a solution, you're a solver. And when you have a solution to a problem that somebody, as they say, can't go to sleep at night because they're thinking about how can I solve this problem, and all of a sudden you have that problem solved in your repertoire, that makes a difference, because now it's not a matter of no love and trust or whatever. It's a matter of, I got a problem I got to solve. And we kind of short circuit what we would normally be very careful about doing. But again, it can still set off the brain if it's done in a wrong way. So the con men are very uniquely skilled at kind of weaving in between those molecules in the brain to get right to that point. Okay, I need it. So that problem solving, to me, I think is a super critical aspect of any kind of networking. Whether we solve it ourselves, as you said, or we know somebody who can solve their problem. And it doesn't matter. We provide a solution to somebody else. And that, I think, is one of the most critical things in any aspect of networking, whether it's in person or on the phone or on Zoom or whatever. So we need to look at ourselves. What problems do we solve? Who do we know that can solve those problems? And as you say, if you don't ask the right questions, you can't get to be able to provide the solution. That is just so super, super critical, I think.
Yeah, when people talk about know, like, and trust, excuse me, I always ask them, did you ever buy something from a TV ad from a guy? Did you know him? Did you like him? Did you trust him? No. The answer was, as you say, he solved their problem. People care about two things. One is whether or not you can help them increase their income. And two, whether or not you can help them solve the problem.
In about a minute or less, we're going to go to a short break. But I want to come back and talk about a topic that I have a lot of problem with, and I'm sure a lot of other people do. And it's called following up. We've had a good one-on-one with somebody, whatever the situation may be. We know the problems. We gave them a temporary solution. But following up for me has always been a problem area in my business relations with other people. Things get in the way, distractions, life, it doesn't matter. But I'd like to pick that up as a topic when we come back from the break. So why don't we go to a break now, and we'll be back in about a minute.
Very good.
Well, maybe we're not going to a break. I don't know. We'll find out in a minute. If not, we'll continue on down the road.
All right.
So sometimes they're programmed in, sometimes they're not. But right about now, we're at the midpoint. So, and if it doesn't pop over, we're just going to go ahead and continue on. Okay. Gail, you've had enough time to think about it. Tell us about following up.
Well, I was at two networking events yesterday. One of them was a local, it was Katy Business Connection, a local group. We had about 40 people there. And so there was probably 4 or 5 new people there. And the other one was the 5th anniversary of the Katy Christian Chamber of Commerce. And there was 4 or 5 new people there. So the first thing that I do when I get back to my office from the meetings is I enter them into the database. If I haven't already captured them through LinkedIn or whatever, people still pass out a lot of cards. And then I send them a thank you for attending the meeting. And one of the things that I think is so important in networking is giving a gift. So the gift I give to people that I've just met is a list of the top networking events in their area and maybe greater Houston area. And I've never had anybody turn that down, and I've had many people that were appreciative of it. When you give someone a gift, it's like what they call tit for tat. They feel obligated. It's like, well, he gave me a gift. I need to give him a gift. At least I'll listen to what he has to say. So that's an important part of this follow-up aspect. Now, I talked about Tony Harris Taylor a while ago, and when you leave somebody, you never say, well, I'll get back in touch with you. I'll give you a call. I'll text you. I'll send you an email. What you do is you pull out your phone and you say, are you available for coffee tomorrow? You make that appointment immediately. So follow-up doesn't have to wait 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, next week, next month, so on. The other thing that helps with the process that I use by sending them a list of top networking events is that every week comes out Monday morning, 8 o'clock, they're going to get an email from me where I'm following up again, and they'll remember, oh, Gail gave me that list of networking events. Maybe I'll go see him again there. So these are important parts of follow-up, and people have various techniques that they use, systems and so on follow-up. But what I know for sure is that if that person, maybe your client, hasn't seen you in 6 months, you're forgotten. And somebody else is knocking on the door to try to get your business.
You mentioned something just a brief moment ago that I think is super critical, a business card. And we used to give those out a lot. And I started going to an event downtown Houston, and most of them were using the cell phone to capture LinkedIn information, because you go, two phones and they send it. However, I get back, and because I didn't identify the problem that person had, what solution they were needing, I lost them because they're just in the phone and I don't remember their name. So I started then, okay, as soon as I made that connection on LinkedIn, I sent them a great to meet you.
Yeah.
Look forward to talking. Now I have a link that's active because it's in my sent message to that person that just connected with me electronically. I have their electronic information, but if I don't do that, I lose them. So super simple. The technology.
I go a step further. In addition to sending them a note, I have a little notepad in my pocket, and I write down things about them that I noted, particularly if it's something that where they have a problem that I can solve for them. So in addition to sending them a message, well, I take notes from every person that I meet.
Now, I notice a lot of people on social media in particular, more than anywhere else, but occasionally on other, is that they want to solve a problem they don't even know if you have. They come out and this is what I do. It's the first time I've seen you. I have no idea who you are. And now there's nothing in there that I want, but they dumped all over me. And then the other problem I have is that I want to get in touch with somebody. I know they're on social media. I know they have a website, but there's no way to contact them other than going through a calendar. There's no, here's my email, here's my phone number that I would normally have on a business card.
Right.
For some reason, they're in business. They want to do business, but they funnel you down to one place. And maybe it's just a phone call. Maybe, I'm scheduling somebody for an event today on the TV show here, and I need to contact. All I have is their calendar. I don't have access. Okay, we're starting in 10 minutes. Where are you at? And I find that to be kind of strange. Why would you want to cover up all that information that people want to get in touch with you? Why are you hiding it?
Right.
And that just seems strange to me.
Well, when you meet someone, what does that other person say? What do you say to them? Normally those words are, what do you do? Now, when you say that, that just gives the other person the license to tell you how great the company is, how great the products are, and how great they are. So instead of asking somebody, what do you do? I will ask them questions like, what's going to be your greatest accomplishment this year? Or where else do you network? How did you find out about this place? And we're carrying on a conversation now instead of me trying to sell them something and them trying to sell me something.
Yeah. One of the questions that I use, I've mentioned many times on this particular show is, Gail, what do you do for fun? It's a question nobody ever gets asked. And most of them say, well, I work. No, I said, what do you do for fun? What do you do outside of your business life? And that's one of those things that it diffuses the situation. All of a sudden you get from being in an interview kind of environment into a more social environment, because now you're talking, well, I love to fish, or I love to do. Now we're going down a different path, and that conversation evolves more naturally.
Right.
So you have the, what do you do? Who do you work for? How long? All those basic questions, and we answer them because our brains are all set up to do that. But when you get them outside of that environment, and now you're talking to another part of their brain that's not been really used much, what do I do for fun? And I find that to be a very good way of being able to transition, because now those other things become more natural. As well, how'd you find out about this place? Because if I've asked that question, they're still in the interview mode.
Yeah.
They haven't transitioned to the social mode. And that's one of the little tricks that I use is, well, what do you do for fun? Because
a lot of times I will tell or ask folks, how does your dog know when you're going to give him a bath? And they'll look at me funny, and I say, well, he spends all the time eating, sleeping, playing, and watching you. They learn your mannerisms, and they learn what words you use. And when they hear the words, let's give the dog a bath, well, they dive underneath the couch. Now, you and I are the same way. There's certain words that are spoken. When we hear them, they raise a red flag. Would you like to know what those words are? I, me, mine, we, us, our. Talking about yourself. And so they understand at that point that when people hear I, me, mine, we, us, our, they shut down. Now they're still nodding their head and saying, but they're looking over your shoulder to see who the next person is they're going to meet. And many times I've sat in a networking meeting and I have counted the number of times that people use those words, and I've reached a dozen or more with some people. So eliminating that talking about them instead of yourself is going to be the major hurdle that most people have.
When I introduced you today, the third thing I told the audience was that you're a success coach. And I've seen you lately on various things, and you have this thing called the Business Success Academy. I believe that's what it's called. And we wanted to make sure that we had a few minutes to talk about that today. So before the show gets too far down the road and we don't have a chance, why don't we introduce that topic now? And
Surely. This came about a good friend of mine for over 20 years who just happened to be the one of the world's first podcasters. And I didn't know what a podcast was, but what I found out that today it's one of the most influential medias there are, more than TV or radio or social media or texting or emailing. And there's a tremendous return on your AOR, ROI. For every dollar you get back $4.9 in income from ads on podcasts. So one of the things that we talk about on the Business Success Academy that Chris Daly and I formed last year is podcasting. And another subject that comes up that's very important today is AI. It's not that people are going to be removed by AI. It is that if the person is not using AI at work, they probably won't get a job, won't keep their job. And then we talk about different aspects of marketing, like content marketing, social media. We go into business techniques. I spend some time on NLP because we're talking about networking today. NLP is such an important aspect of the networking techniques. So this is, you can find that, by the way, going to school, SKOOL.com/business-success-academy. School is one of the latest medias and one of the fastest growing ones. And I'm impressed that some of who I call the big players are using school for their businesses. Anyway, stop by and see us.
would you repeat that again? The school dot whatever?
Surely. School is spelled SKOOL.com and then /, and we say Business Success Academy with dashes between it. So it's business-success-academy. And when you get there, you'll actually have the opportunity. Most groups like this charge a pretty good fee. And at this point, you can actually join that group at no cost. So, heck of a deal.
NLP, Neuro Linguistics Programming. I finally figured out what the P was. I'll let my subconscious mind, be challenged by that P. I couldn't think of it.
The neuro applies to the brain, the linguistic applies to the language, and the programming applies to the process.
When you were talking about AI a moment ago, it dawned on me that if I'm going over to Korea, Singapore, India, it doesn't matter. The language over there, one of the things I always try to do is pick up, how are you? Yes, no, 1, 2, 3, where's the bathroom? 2 beers,
Right.
please. All those words that you need as a tourist. And when we start getting involved with AI, we're tourists. We really don't know how to do much. Okay, give me this, it gives it to you. I want 10 things that describe what, and AI gives it back to us. But in order to use it intelligently as a really good tool, because that's all it is a tool, we have to learn how to talk to it. It's that script. It's that how do we ask the question? As you talked about earlier, the professionals know what to ask. Well, if you're going to become a professional with AI, you have to know how to ask the question.
Yeah,
I found
prompting
out.
is a language all its own.
Yeah. And when I first started using it, I would say, edit this. So I took a chapter in there, it's like 10 pages, and boom, I get 2 paragraphs. It edited the entire 10 pages down to almost nothing. I learned over time, if I say edit for punctuation, does a great job. Edit for but the
Right.
word edit in AI language, at least with Chat GPT, does not mean the same thing as edit in our normal vocabulary. So I asked AI, how do I ask the question to get this result? And I've tweaked that 2 or 3 times. And now I have a pretty decent way of having it go in there and do whatever it is. But it's about 4 sentences in order to fully do exactly what I want. So a lot of people say, well, I don't use AI. Well, it's not because it's not of value. You haven't learned the language yet to know of what value it can be for you. And I think that's critical in almost anything. We're talking about networking today. If we don't know the language to use, how can we become better at what we're doing? Or I don't want to go to networking because I don't feel comfortable in groups of people. Well, you put that hat on when you became a business owner or entrepreneur, or you put yourself in that position. Again, our learning is continuous, and we need to know these things.
Right.
So with that being said, we're almost getting ready to wrap up the show today. Is there any last minute thing you want to say before I give you a chance to tell people how to reach you?
One thing. Well, I'm going to tell you 2 things. One thing is you need to be reading books or listening to books or whatever. Books like Networking Like a Pro, which is a fantastic book, and you also need to have a mentor. You know, every top athlete has a coach, and every businessman has. I've got a bunch of different coaches. I've even got a memory coach. And what you want to do is make use of those individuals to help you grow and move forward. So you can just contact me, and I'll be happy to make suggestions to you for mentors on specific topics, or I'll also send you a list of what I found to be the top books for learning more about networking too.
How do people get in touch with you, Gail?
The easiest way is just to send me an email. It's Gail, Gail, at Gail Stolzenburg. That's GailStolzenburg.com. Or you can call me at 281-493-1955. And I would tell you to go to my website, but it's under revision right now because I've got a whole bunch of new things that I'm adding on there, particularly things like NLP that are going to be beneficial to folks. But 281-493-1955. You can text me right there.
Okay, so for our audio audience, Gail Stolzenburg, Gail, pretty easy. Stolzenburg, I remember because there's 1 O, 1 E, and 1 U. So Stolzenburg. So, Gail, thank you so very, very much today. I really and truly appreciate it. And please contact Gail because he has so many solutions for problems you don't even know you have. Or he knows who to contact because he has a wealth of people that he knows about and what they do. So, Gail, again, thank you so very much for today. We'll catch you next week for lunch, I believe.
Thank you, Red. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. Red O'Laughlin here, getting ready to wrap up the Wise Ones on the USA Global Global TV and Radio Network. Next is a show called Talking Heads. It's my own show. We usually talk about some aspect of health or wellness. And I am on the series now of what would I do? And it doesn't matter what the topic is. I go into what would I do with that topic, with cancer or some other aspect of aging or longevity or disease. But I want to know today, what do I do about gut health? If your gut health is well, chances are you're going to be pretty good the rest of your life. But if that's upset, you're going to have a lot of problems. And so today, what would I do? Gut health on Talking Heads next on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Bye, y'all.
in a world full of noise, misunderstandings, and interruptions. Master the art of listening with Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor of USA Global TV and Radio and the Amazon #1 best-selling author of Mastering the Power of Elevated Listening. Elevate your listening. Elevate your life. Join a global learning experience in person or via Zoom. Reserve your spot today. usaglobaltv.com/book-your-session or drjacqueline.thinkific.com. Join Dr. Kerbeck's listening courses or hire her to unlock deeper connections and authentic conversations. Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today. Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.